Long ago, in a faraway land, a man named Joseph was traveling to Bethlehem with his wife Mary. In those days, all the people in the land were ordered back to their place of birth so they could pay their taxes. And so it was that Joseph was walking to Bethlehem, his family's birthplace, while Mary rode beside him on their little donkey. Mary was pregnant and must have been very uncomfortable riding so long on the donkey's back. She knew she could give birth at any time, maybe even before they arrived in Bethlehem. But she hadn't wanted to stay behind alone. She wanted to be with her husband when their first baby was born. So they made the long journey together. After several days, they reached their destination, and Joseph immediately began looking for a place to stay. Seeing an inn nearby, he stopped and left Mary outside while he went to see about lodgings for the night. "Do you have a place I could stay with my wife?" asked Joseph. "We've been traveling several days and my wife is expecting a baby. She's very tired." Peering over Joseph's shoulder, the innkeeper could see that Mary was probably very close to giving birth. He suggested they stay in his private stable, away from all the noise and confusion of the other travelers who were already crowding the inn. Joseph happily accepted the kind man's offer and went to get Mary. Meanwhile, the innkeepers and their young daughter went ahead of Mary and Joseph to try to make their little stable as presentable as possible. They began by moving all their animals out into the yard so there would be more room for the guests. They swept the floor and they tidied up the manger area, leaving some fresh hay for the baby's bed. When all was ready, Mary and Joseph entered the clean little stable, and they made themselves as comfortable as they could. Mary was especially pleased to have this private space, for she sensed that her baby would be born that very night. Wishing them a comfortable stay, the innkeeper slipped out the door, leaving his partner to help Mary with the birth. As Mary settled herself in for the night, the little stable girl asked if she could stay too. But her father said, "This is not the time or place for a child. Now run along with your father." So the little girl left the stable and reluctantly followed her father home. As the evening wore on, it was clear this would indeed be the night of the baby's birth. And sure enough, within a few hours, Mary, with the help of the innkeeper doula, gave birth to a lovely baby boy.
Let's sing together hymn number 246, A Little Town in Bethlehem. You can keep your seats.
Shine.
Meanwhile, the animals who had been moved out of the stable stood very quietly outside as if sensing that some kind of miracle was taking place. And indeed it was. For the birth of any new baby is the greatest of miracles, but this one seemed particularly special. And the animals were curious as well as a little restless. They wanted to see what was going on inside. They also wanted to go back to their own stalls where they were used to sleeping. Finally, one of the animals, the donkey, stepped up to the door and nudged it with his nose, trying to get it open, but the innkeeper shouted at him, "Out, out, you dirty thing. You can't come in here. You're covered in mud and much too smelly to be around a new baby. It goes for the rest of you too," he said to all the other animals huddled outside. "There isn't room for you in here." But Mary wasn't the least bit bothered by the animals. "It's all right," she said softly. "Let them in. After all, we're in their house. Let them come in and see my beautiful baby." And so the doors were opened, and one by one the animals came into the stable.
Said, "Listen closely and you be the judge. With my heaviest loads back and forth I have trudged. Now I'm all tired out, you can bet I won't budge. Will you let me come into the stable?"
Come in, bring your friends, bring your neighbors, bring your whole family. Come on in. There is room in the stable for everyone. Ba 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 said the lambs as loud as they dare. It is dark and it's cold and it's scary out here. We will make you a blanket from the coat that we wear if you let us come into the stable. Oh, come in. Bring your friends, bring your neighbors, bring your whole family. Oh, come on in. There is room in the stable for everyone.
Then the cowboy said, "I got up yesterday so the baby could lie in my manger of hay. I don't mind that so much, but now I know where to stay. Now I love it back to the stable."
Bring your friends, bring your neighbors, bring your whole family. Come on in. Come in. There is room in the stable for everyone.
Said the cat,
animals were no sooner settled in the stable when there appeared at the door a scruffy-looking group of very excited shepherds. Here it is, one of them shouted as she peered through the half-open doorway. Seeing Mary, she said, "Oh, good lady, please let us come in. We've heard of a special birth this night and have come to see this miracle for ourselves." "But how did you know?" Mary asked. "Who told you to come here?" Before the shepherds could answer, the innkeeper, who had seen the group approaching, rushed out and stepped in front of the door, barring the way. "Do not let these men and women in," he said to Joseph. "They are lowly shepherds who wander the countryside, having no real home. They're very poor and they care for no one but themselves. They might even rob you. They're not fit to come in." But Joseph said to the innkeeper, "Good man, I'm a lowly carpenter and also poor like them. They are no better or worse than I. They certainly don't look dangerous to me. Please step aside and make them welcome." You could see the innkeeper was afraid, but he did as he was told and let the shepherds enter. One of the shepherds, who seemed eager to talk, said to Mary, "I can tell you how we came here. We were in the fields tending our sheep when suddenly we saw a great light in the sky and an angel appeared out of nowhere. We were terribly frightened, but the angel calmed us and said, 'Do not be afraid, for I bring good news for all people. Today in the city of Bethlehem a child is born who will bring great joy and peace to the world. And this shall be your sign. You will find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying near a manger.'" So we decided to come to Bethlehem right away to see this great event for ourselves. Everyone was astonished at what the shepherds said, oohing and awing at the strange story. But Mary sat quietly, pondering all these things in her heart.
If we heard the angels sing their song above a starry sky, would we know they came with a message clear, or would we wonder why? Would we have ears to hear
shepherds entered the stable, another group appeared at the door. There were 3 of them, and it was obvious they were not from Bethlehem. They were riding on camels, and they wore long, elegant robes and strange hats like crowns or fezzes on their heads. They must have come from some country in the east, for no one in the area dressed this way. The shepherds eyed them suspiciously. "May we come in?" asked one of the 3, who seemed to be some kind of sage or shaman. The shepherds seemed very uneasy, and before Joseph could answer, one of them said, "Kind sir, you must not let these people in. They're not Jews like us. They're foreigners. Who knows who they are or where they come from? You can see by their clothing. They look very strange. Surely you can tell they're not to be trusted." But Joseph said, "It's true. They look different from us, and perhaps they do have different ways, but I see no harm in that. Please welcome them into our little stable." And so the 3 travelers, who were called magi, or wise people, stepped into the stable. "We've come a great distance from the east," said the first of the magi. "We are astrologers studying the stars and their movements, and recently we noted one star of special brilliance. It seemed to be shining, almost hovering over one particular place. So we followed this star, thinking we might find something very important, and so we have. We see a very special baby is born this night, and we've brought gifts to honor him or her." Each of the magi stepped forward and laid down a gift for the baby. One brought gold, one brought a type of incense called frankincense, and the last one brought myrrh, often used as incense or as medicine. "We shall leave you now," said one of the magi, "for we can see that you are tired. We found what we were seeking, and we thank you for accepting our gifts. We feel honored to have been here this night, for we know this child will grow up to become a great and wise leader." And with that, they turned and disappeared into the night. Sensing it was time for them to leave as well, the shepherds and the innkeeper tiptoed out of the stable so as not to wake the sleeping babe. Even the animals drifted away to their own separate stalls, for they were tired and in need of a good sleep themselves. Mary and Joseph looked lovingly at their new baby. "What shall we name him?" Mary asked. "I was thinking we might call him Jesus, but what do you think?" Joseph nodded and smiled, agreeing it would be a fine name. "But now we should get some sleep," Joseph said. "You stay here. I'll go over to one of the other stalls where there's more room for me to make a bed." As he left, he gently touched Mary's shoulder, smiling at her and his newborn child. Mary was tired, but unable to sleep. What's so special about this night, about this child, she wondered. We're poor people from humble families. What is it that makes my baby so special? And if he is so special, what's expected of me as his mother? Mary held her baby and gazed into his beautiful eyes as if looking for an answer there. As she pondered these questions, she heard a small creaking noise, the sound of the stable door quietly opening. Mary turned to see that the little stable girl had come back, eager for a glimpse of the new baby.
In the stillness of the morning, as Mary rocked her babe, a little girl sat quietly inside. She had come to leave the stable. She had come
being together quietly for several minutes, Mary reached out to take the baby back. The little girl smiled, her face radiant with all the joy and love she was feeling inside. She knew she would never forget this night, nor would Mary. And although she could not know where his life would eventually take him, she did know Jesus was very special and would one day be an important leader. But for now, Mary's path was clear. She would care for him and love him and share him. For in her heart, she knew he was not hers alone to hold. Jesus did indeed grow up to become very important to the world. He was a great teacher and an important spiritual leader. He was also a true friend to the poor and the powerless, believing that all people deserve to be treated with kindness and respect. And so each year we celebrate the birth of Jesus at Christmas time, eager for the joy and hope that belongs to this season. For long ago in that faraway land, his message of love and peace and goodwill to all people spoke to those who had ears to hear and hearts to receive, just as it continues to speak to us today.
Let's rise and sing number 251, Silent Night, Holy Night.
Question, would you like to hold the baby? Is an invitation to open your heart to all that the Christmas season has to offer. An invitation to embrace what is most sacred in your life. It is an invitation meant for everyone.